Alright, what we've got here is my friend's crate BX100 bass amp. And he's had a problem with the input jack. If the cord moves at all, it's intermittent and kicks in and out. So these things are made, I can't get, this is as close as I can get on it, but it doesn't have a standard 1/4-inch jack. It's this plastic encased and plastic housed piece of crap they put on everything now in consumer electronics. And it has little legs that drop down and they solder them into the circuit board here. And what's basically happened is that the solder has failed on the back little legs, and so the jack moves up and down if you wiggle the cord a little, and it makes contact, breaks contact, makes contact, back and forth. That's what's giving the intermittent signal. So what I'm going to do is remove this. I'll have to remove all the knobs and everything like that. And then, and of course the nuts and stuff. And then I'll have to take this circuit board off and flip it over and solder it, those lugs again, resolder them. A lot of times you can just reheat the solder, but what I'll do is I'll probably add just a little bit of solder to it as well. And that should fix it. So I'll be right back after I get everything apart. Alright, we're back. There's a lot. This circuit board fits in here really, really tight. And I would have to remove a lot of wires that I really don't want to pull off. I'm not an amp tech. I just can fix, little simple things that go wrong from time to time that are easy to diagnose. So one tip I would give you, if you're going to do stuff like this, find a place to put all your screws. Don't leave them laying around all over the top of the amp or all over the bench or whatever it is you're working on, because you're going to end up losing them. But anyway, I was able to remove this enough to be able to pull this circuit board out, and I've got free access to all 4 of the little legs that come down off of this thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to solder it from here in place like it is. That way I don't have to worry about pulling too much off. I've got stuff I'm going to have to replace or put back already that I had to undo. And I'd rather just... So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put some pressure on that. And I'm going to let that go. Let that dry. Don't take but a few seconds. And the thing of it is with this stuff is you don't want gobs and gobs of solder on the circuit board, because it's ugly for one, and for another, you'll end up making connections that you don't need to make with the circuit, because there's so much solder on the board that they just jump. The circuit just jumps. Okay, I want to reheat that. I don't like that. It still feels to me like it's trying to move. My hands are trembling like crazy. I hate that. I get tremors really bad. Any of you that have watched my shaving videos, it doesn't show up on the shaving part of the video. You can see the tremors here right now. I'm not real good. That's another reason that I don't do a lot of electronic repair. I don't have the coordination for it. So, I mean, that's the deal with that. And I do believe that that is fixed. But now I'm going to do the front ones, even though they feel like they're good and tight, because the thing's been wiggling around for I don't know how many weeks or months. And I just rather make absolutely certain everything is pretty much tied down, so to speak. And I'm just holding it there tight so that I know that it's not going to go anywhere, or it's going to be pressed up tight to that circuit board when the solder cools. Alright, I'll be back to test this out and see if it worked out. Alright, I've got my mic turned up as loud as I can get it on this laptop. Hopefully there won't be a ton of distortion, but I'm having a hard time letting you hear the amp. I'm getting a lot of buzz and stuff in the room if I turn the amp up, so hopefully you'll be able to hear. Just not a bass player. I play one at church though. Simple stuff I can do just fine, but can hear and tell. You can see I'm in my master bedroom now. You can see the bathroom back behind me, master bath behind me. But I mean, it's fixed. It's good to go. Works just fine. I've got the guitar turned down all the way. The bass, you don't hear any hum or carrying on or anything like that. I mean, you might be able to hear my fan turning or something like that. But if you've got that kind of problem where your jack is, the input jack on your amp is intermittent and causing you issues, if it's a solid state amp, and I'll get to why in a minute, unplug the thing, and pretty much, I guess at least 70% of the time, that's the problem, is that little jack, the little legs, the soldering connections came loose, and it's a really easy fix. So maybe you can save some money and not pay an amp tech and fix it yourself. Now, if you've got a tube amp and you don't know what you're doing, like me, I don't know what I'm doing with a tube amp, stay out of it, because a tube amp, there are areas in a tube amp that store up voltage. And even if you unplug the thing, if you touch one of those areas, it can fry you. And I mean seriously kill you. I'm not talking about just a tiny little 110 volt. We're talking a lot of voltage that it's stored up, and you touch it and you're a crispy critter. So if you don't know what you're doing with a tube amp, stay the heck out of a tube amp. Just safety 101. Other things you want to look for and understand is like the knobs on these, the shaft that those knobs slide onto, that you have to pull off the front of the amp in order to get the circuit board out and that kind of deal. 9 times out of 10, those shafts are going to be plastic. They're not going to be metal. You can break them really easy. Be careful. The nuts that go on the 1/4-inch jack on the outside to tighten it down, they're plastic. The whole housing is plastic. The thread is plastic. But the nut is plastic. If you tighten that nut down too much, you're going to snap it right in half. You're going to crack it, you're going to break it, it won't tighten down anymore, that kind of deal. Just, you have to be really careful because this is basically consumer electronics now. Unless you spend huge amounts of money for a point-to-point wired amp and that kind of deal, that's what you're going to deal with. 90% of the newer stuff that's out there, that's 20 years old or newer, it's got this kind of junk on it, and you just got to be really careful when you work it, because you can break stuff really easy. And speaking of breaking stuff, the circuit boards are very thin. They're as thin as they could get away with and still produce an amp that works. I'm just telling you, that's the way these companies are now. Okay, all of them. I don't care whether it's a Crate or a Marshall or anybody else. They're all like that. Okay, and you can crack a circuit board really, really easy if you're trying to muscle it out of the, oh, I can't get it out, let me push a little harder. Snap. You know, treat it like a baby, a newborn baby. Really, really gentle or it breaks. Really, really patient or it breaks. That's the deal. But I hope that this has helped somebody somewhere be able to fix their amp and get it back up and running so they can keep jamming on. All right, God bless you. Later.